Do you want to be a filmmaker that's working with pro athletes? I'm hoping yes, and that's why I clicked on this video. The biggest and best brands in the world use endorsements from pro athletes to elevate their brands. In this video, I'm going to give you a guide of how you can get those clients and also some tips that are critical for when you're on set shooting with pro athletes. For those of you that are new here, my name's Joe Housley, and on this channel we talk about getting cash whilst getting creative. Every week I'm sharing the knowledge that I've learned over the last 5 years of building a video production business and creating film content for major brands. So if that sounds interesting or helpful to you, consider subscribing. I'd be eternally grateful for it. But without further ado, let's get into the video. I'm going to break this down into two parts. First, we'll put together the plan of how you can actually win those clients. Then I'm going to give you a guide of tips and tricks that you need to keep in mind that are critical for when you're working with an athlete. So the first step of the plan of working with pro athletes is you need to build a portfolio that is relevant to that market. But how, I hear you ask? Let's assume we're starting from zero. The very first thing that you can do, which is an easy win, is to get an editing reel together. You can use a platform like Artlist to pull together a string of athlete content and cut together a few 30-second, 60-second spec ads. Look, they're not going to be perfect and they're not going to be exactly how you would like to shoot them, but it's a good way to start to be able to get you an in and show a prospect business or a prospect athlete that you've got the skills to be able to create something that looks pretty sick. After getting the editing reel together, the truth is, if you want to film something with an athlete, you might have to do it to start with without getting paid. I've got a philosophy which I ripped straight off James Matthews when it comes to doing work for free, and that is only do work for free if it's going to be the very best work that you can possibly do and it's going to elevate you in the correct step towards the type of content you want to be making and the kind of production business that you want to have. When working to create content for athletes, it's a hard space to get into. One of the easiest things you can do to get started in terms of filming is create some spec ads where you go and film with people that are maybe up and coming athletes or contacts that you may have. Say for example that you train tennis, or say for example you train boxing. See if you can create a spec ad with one of the boxers or the tennis athletes that are there that are good, might not have a massive profile, but it tells a good story and the visuals are on point. Most people will be very willing to do this, especially if you're offering for nothing. It gives you good experience of what it's like on set to film with an athlete before you go with the pros, and that's critical because when you're in there with people that do it for their job full time, they're busy, they have a lot of demands, they often have high profiles, so making sure that you know what you're doing and practicing that skill is a really good thing to do ahead of time. I've worked with pro athletes from world champion boxers to Premier League football players to world champion jiu-jitsu athletes, and for me to be able to get the audience with those and shoot content with those, I had to make some free stuff initially. But now as a result of that, we have Aston Villa as a client, who are the largest Premier League football club in the Midlands. Sometimes you just have to take the L on the cash for the long-term view of where you want to go and what kind of content you want to make. Okay, but now you have a portfolio of videos that you've made that are in that niche. Wonderful. Now you can go and you can approach different brands to create content with those athletes. But what's the route in? You might think, oh, I want to work with a boxer, I want to work with a footballer, I want to work with a swimmer. How do I actually end up working with that athlete themselves? Well, the route a lot of the time is to go through working with brands that sponsor that athlete. A way that a lot of athletes make their money is by wearing garments, shoes, whatever it may be, or endorsing technology from brands. So they might wear certain smart watches or certain elements of clothing or tech socks, whatever it may be. One of our clients is an underwear company that has a piece of patented technology on the waistband to reduce pressure, and they endorse numerous boxers, runners, and other pro athletes as well. So look at the athletes in the niches that you want to go into and have a look at what clothes are they wearing, who are they endorsing, what kind of brands are they doing paid sponsorship with. That will give you a clear indication of, okay, that brand is over there, they are working with that athlete that you want to work with, and if you can show them some of your work and build a relationship, even if you have to do the first one for free, that could be a really good in at that brand. And it's going to give you access to the athlete, and that has massive benefit because it elevates your portfolio of the kind of faces that you have within the projects that you've done. So when you go to another brand, you can go, oh, I've worked with this athlete who's got this caliber of profile and I was trusted to create content for them on behalf of this brand. If you've done something for free or you've done something paid, it's always worth being a little bit cheeky and just asking, when you post this work, can you please credit me for it? Tag me on Instagram, tag me on LinkedIn, tag me on Facebook, wherever it's going to get distributed. If you can get some sort of tag or recognition for the work that you've done and it's good work, there's there's a high probability that somebody's going to see that and reach out to you to do content. It's also just good social proofing for you when you're posting work to your network. If you can show, hey, look, X person that's super famous in this athletic field is posting work from me, it gives confidence to people that know you. And that network of yours and the network of that network could end up in referrals from places that maybe you weren't expecting. And then the final step of another route, if those things are working but you want to try and get something a little bit more direct, is speak directly with the athlete themselves. Often that's going to be a hard thing to do. An athlete is focused on being the best athlete that they can be, but they will have a manager or they'll have an agent that's looking after them. Now that agent is interested in helping the athlete make good money, and that good money comes from deals with brands and sponsorships and that sort of thing. So best thing, if you can reach out directly to the athlete, probably not going to happen, but if you can find their agent or their manager, that's a good place to go to say, hey, look, I'm a big fan of X athlete, I really love their brand, I feel like I have some work that would really resonate with the audience that is interested because I'm a fan of this person as well. Here's my reel, here's some stuff that I've done, would you be interested in maybe collaborating and seeing if we can build a good working relationship? So in terms of steps to actually winning those clients, that's my process. If you have any other strategies or tips or tricks that you've used to win gigs with pro athletes, let me know in the comments below because I'd love to hear about it. Also, if you want me to explain it a little bit more in detail, any of those previous steps, leave a comment and let me know, and I'll try get back to you in the comments and expand a little bit, or just make an entirely new video going into a bit more detail. Okay, so next up, let's talk about actually filming with the athlete themselves and some tips that you need to know for that. First thing, and I can't emphasize this enough, is have a very, very, very clear plan of what kind of video or film content you're trying to make or want to make. Athletes with big followings are often very particular and precious about how they want to be perceived in the world. The more you can do to be thorough in how you present a plan of what your approach is with that athlete to their team, their manager, their agent, and the athlete themselves, that's going to give you a good chance of building a strong working relationship and getting all the cards on the table before you actually shoot anything. You want to make sure that anything that you shoot is agreed beforehand with them, so there's no surprises, there's nothing weird or ambiguous that you're going to do with them, because athletes are often quite structured people and they want to know what's happening and when it's happening. Okay, tip number 2 is don't be scared of them. It's very easy to get a little bit starstruck when you see somebody that is an athlete and might be a bit of a hero of yours, but it's one of the worst things you can do when you're working with them. The best thing you can do is approach them, introduce yourself, keep it nice and light, treat them like they are another human, because they are another human. It's in your best interest to build that rapport, so when you're filming you can have that chemistry, you can work back and forth with one another, and that's going to enable you to create the best content possible. Don't go up to them and lose your shit and be like, bah, I'm your biggest fan, I love you, because it's not good, man. It's not a good look. You want to build a rapport with them, be on their level, and know that you're both there as professionals to work together to create some cool content. The third tip is to listen and accommodate the pro athlete. These people are often very extreme and also very particular people. That's how they got so good at what they do. So even if you have a plan before, but they say they have something that they want to show or something that they want to try on camera, you've got to try and accommodate that. It's going to help you build that relationship with them, but they also have a vision of how they want to look on camera and how they want things to look. So if you can help them do that, that's going to help build that rapport and make the whole process better and give you a better chance of getting hired in the future and the athlete tagging you when they put the work out. If they don't want to do something, don't force them to do it. And if they want to try something, do your best to accommodate it. There is a very small caveat to that though. Often you'll have a limited amount of time with an athlete because they're on a tight time schedule in terms of their training and whatnot. So take that accommodating with a little pinch of salt. If you know that you've got a limited time, there's a certain selection of shots that you need to make happen, accommodate it, but make sure that you're mindful of what you really critically need for the edit and be polite in how you manage that communication. Okay, tip number 4. So they are athletes, but you have to be respectful of what you demand out of them. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, they might be shredded, diced, super fit, super athletic, but if you're turning around asking somebody to do 100 pull-ups, it might be a little bit taxing for them. So if you want to do a shot like that, which is an arduous exercise, make sure that you're focused and you're getting the shot as fast as possible. You have to give fair breaks between the physical requests that you're asking of these athletes. This isn't because the athlete can't do it, this is because the athlete is usually working towards a goal in their own career, which is the biggest thing probably that they're going to do in their career. Every athlete's striving for that next big thing, whether it's the longest race or the biggest fight or whatever it may be. They have that goal in their mind and they've got a whole training schedule that is focused focused around achieving that goal. Now, when you come in to film something and you ask them to do something which is very physically demanding, repeatedly over and over again, when they've already maybe trained 2 times that day, 3 times that day, and fuck knows how many times that week, it can start getting a little bit icy because they're going to start getting pissed off that they're being overworked there for something which is meant to be media. Okay, so tip number 5. Now, this is kind of general, but very, very important when you're dealing with athletes, is you have to direct them very clearly. An athlete is not an actor most of the time. An athlete is an individual that's focused on being really good at a sport. So it's important to be simple and clear in your instructions to them. An actor will be able to take broad directions and improvise along the way, but an athlete needs to be told very specifically what they need to do, why they're doing it, what the angle is going to be, so they can understand. They're not in the world of film, they're in the world of sport. A really good tip for this is to use visual references to show the athlete before. So be that images or video references, have that handy on set, so when you go to the next shot, you can go, look, this is what we're going to get next, this is why, this is the kind of angle that we're going to get, let's do it. Having a visual reference will remove any ambiguity of what you're trying to achieve, and it means you're going to get it righter sooner, and also not piss the athlete off by asking them to do 100 pull-ups, for example. Okay, so final one is get stuck in. Nothing builds more rapport with an athlete than actually going and putting some physical output in there yourself and being willing to get stuck into the grind. You don't want to be the man behind the camera just barking orders at them. The more stuck in you can get, the more you're going to build a connection with that athlete. I remember I filmed a short doc up in Scotland, filming 3 guys that ran 110 miles in 24 hours. And I went out for about 25 miles of that journey with them, in the cold, wet, rain, running with them, filming at the same time. And I cannot express how helpful that was for me to be able to tell a good film. 1, because I had the coverage, but 2, because when I took the time to actually go and get stuck in with them, it enabled me to build more of a relationship. They were more open with me. They told me more about how they felt. I gained their respect. It made for a better end video, and I'm really happy that I did it. It really goes a long way to show your willingness to get stuck in, and also it helps you to be able to empathize a bit more with the athlete. Okay, so that's it for this one. If you enjoyed this video, I'd be really grateful if you hit subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment on there, and if you want more filmmaking tips, check out this video here.